Tired of the same old at business events? Well, this is not the same as last year. The podcast where we blow up the boring and lead the charge into the attendee-first era of business events. I'm Clare Forestier, a business event MC obsessed with transforming audiences from passive observers into dynamic participants at events. Each week we'll challenge the conventions, share actionable tips, and hear from fellow event rebels who are mastering the engagement game. Imagine your attendees begging for more after your next event. That's the magic of prioritising their experience. Ready to ditch the dull and create corporate events your audiences will rave about? Then you've found your tribe. Join the movement. Welcome to Not the Same as Last Year. Today, in my bid to make B2B events more attendee-centric, I want to talk about exhibitions, trade shows, expos, because I think they are really stuck in a rut. They seem to be just doing the same things, the same outdated tactics year after year. But I am not an expert on these, and so I need somebody to join me today. And I'm going to talk to Lee Alley. He is the driving force behind Expo Stars Interactive, which is a trade show performance agency. And his job really is to help exhibitors elevate their engagement strategies to make sure that the people that come to their booths actually become qualified leads. Now, Lee knows trade shows inside out, but of course, he is coming at it not from the attendee perspective so much, but from the exhibitor's side. So we talk about why so many trade shows are stuck, how this focus on sales first is really missing the mark, and why the real success really is going to be from the genuine human connections and delivering real value to attendees. So there is plenty of resonance here with what I'm always banging about, making events better by putting people first. Now, my experiences of trade shows are loud, noisy, frenetic places. I feel fake, inauthentic conversations, a sense that if you are potentially just a visitor, you're very unimportant to most people. A lot of that sort of, I'll talk to you for a second, but waiting for someone better to come along who's a better lead, all that kind of thing. And it feels just mad, rushed, crazy. So that's my perspective of them. And they feel like places that just don't care about the human being. So obviously I told Lee that, and then I asked him why trade shows are so stuck, so old-fashioned, so difficult.
I think trade shows, it's one of those things. It's like Marmite. Either you love them or you hate them. What I love about them is the opportunity to create those one-to-one serendipity moments. And that's what exhibitions really, for me, represent. Okay, they're an opportunity to get in front of the right people at the right time and in the right place. It's a fantastic opportunity to create new conversations. And a lot of people see exhibitions as a sales process. And I see exhibitions as an engagement and educational process. And the statistics are that 89% of attendees go to exhibitions, conferences, congresses to learn something new about how they can overcome their challenges in their business or to achieve something. If you embrace that as an exhibitor and as an attendee, it becomes much more enjoyable. Whereas if you go with the mindset that you've got to find customers, that you've got to sell to generate those leads, to scan those badges, then it becomes a very cumbersome process. If we don't actually have a process of approaching these exhibitions, what tends to happen is we collect all these cards or the badge scans, we come back to our office and we try to connect with people, and guess what? They actually ghost us because we didn't, in that conversation, get to the heart of the matter. We didn't actually create that common ground with that person, that emotional bond. And the advice I give to people can seem very counterintuitive when it comes to trade shows, but you've got to approach it from a human first level because we've, as you know, Claire, we've been accustomed to technology getting in the way of human connections, okay?
We nearly didn't get online today, thanks to technology, did we?
Absolutely, yeah. So there was an issue on my end, there was an issue at your end, and then all that got in the way of a really good conversation. And it's the same with exhibitions. And everybody's tried to push their agenda with exhibitions. We have obviously the show organizers who are trying to sell the floor space and try to sell as much of it as possible to you. Then we have the exhibition stand builders who are actually trying to sell you the biggest, the brightest, and the shiniest booth. But no one has actually taught us the process of how to exhibit and how to get a positive return on investment. Okay. And here in the UK, believe it or not, we don't actually have a formal education process about how to achieve success at exhibitions. In the US, we have a certified trade show marketers program, which is a 3-year degree into the world of exhibitions and looks at everything from strategy to engagement to measurement, and selecting the right booth staff and all of that. But here in the UK, what tends to happen is people get given the responsibility of organizing a trade show, but they actually have no experience and they have no education about how to set up the process. They just do what's been done for the past 100 years.
They just do the same as last year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, same as last year. Yeah. So I think this is the challenge that a lot of European, UK, Asian markets they have to deal with is to, get out of that comfort zone and really look trade shows in a completely different light.
It's hard to do that though if you've got to deal with all the same structures are set up. So
Yeah.
most people are used to doing what they do, even if it's not very good. They'll just think that's what they do. I was really shocked when I was exhibiting for the first time that all this extra stuff had to be paid for, like scanning machines, which I hate, by the way. I know you're not a massive fan either. That you all had to be paid for. So it was all just about like people were just desperately trying to get your money as an exhibitor. So you did feel when you were there, I've got to make all this money back. You were talking to the attendees almost not, you weren't even interested in what they wanted because you just needed to get some return on investment. And I can see when I go to people's stands as well, they'll take my card and I'll say, well, actually, I'm not buying today. I'm not actually in a buying role. I'm an MC. And they'll go, okay, and they'll chat with you for a bit. But half the time they're looking over your shoulder for someone who might be buying. So they're missing a fact that I actually am a contact and I know people. But then they haven't even listened to me because then they will, as you say, send me a load of stuff afterwards that shows they weren't listening to me. What they should have done is build a relationship with me, seen who I do know, who I could have introduced them to, and that kind of thing. So they're missing the trick. But then also me as a buyer or a visitor, if I was a buyer, half the time, what am I supposed to be doing when I get there? Just trying to meet a good person who might be able to help my business in this sea of booths. It feels like there needs to be education both ways.
Oh, absolutely. As an attendee, most people are going to exhibitions to learn how to run their business effectively or look at solutions that they might need in their business. But as exhibitors, we approach it from a sales perspective, okay? Because as soon as we commit that £20,000 or $50,000 to that exhibition, we're under pressure to get those numbers, the number of sales leads. But the sales leads are defined completely wrongly because it's any and every conversation counts as a lead. I went to a show here in Manchester Central. It was a technology show. We're interested in reviewing our CRM system and actually optimizing it. And there was a company there, and I was quite interested in what they had to offer. And I got talking to the representative on the booth. I asked all of them meaningful questions, okay, gave them my challenges, and they answered back in terms of how they could actually help. Because they were under pressure to get as many leads as possible, at the end of the conversation, they actually forgot what the conversation was actually about. And they said, can we scan your badge and somebody will get back to you?
Oh, frustrating. And such a wasted opportunity.
Absolutely. And there's me giving all the buying signals. And then all I get at the end of it is, can I scan your badge? And that comes from the psychology of setting up teams at the booth just to scan as many badges as possible, because the metric is that we need to get 200 leads, 200 names, 200 business cards. Okay.
Even if they're not even good sales prospects, they're not even actually, you've not even done basic qualification.
So the key is to understand, first of all, how does your exhibition strategy align with your business growth? Then the second element is to understand your target audience. Once you've understood that, is to look at your customer journey, okay, before, during, and after the event. Define your KPIs in terms of what you want to get out of the show. And it's not necessarily the number of sales leads. Okay. And number 5 in our process is really understanding and developing a follow-up process that is going to be engaging and stop people ghosting you after the event. Okay. We don't get taught about this, but I call it common sense exhibiting. And it seems that technology companies, the exhibit builders, the show organizers are so intent on, and this is quite controversial, obviously, and it might lose me a few friends.
I love it when people say that on this podcast, when they say, well, I'm going to say something now that will lose me friends. And you're like, yes, that's what we want to hear. And because it's we've got to be provocative around this, because otherwise nothing will ever change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wish that organizers, exhibit builders really, have those conversations with the exhibitors and say, what are the outcomes that you actually want from the show? And let us actually help you get there. And what I find, and we work with, obviously, all the stakeholders in the industry, and exhibit builders are busy taking orders. The exhibitors, okay, they're asking them, like, what do you want? And then they're quoting for the prices, but they're not challenging their customers in terms of asking them, well, why is it that you need 3 AV stands? Why is it that you need all of these kiosks? Why is it that you want a water fountain on the booth? Or why is it that you need a coffee machine? And so on. So nobody actually starts with asking, what does the customer journey look like on the booth?
Yeah, because everything has become down to the pounds, shillings and pence, hasn't it? So that's what they're measured on as well. So it's almost like everybody's measured the wrong way. So they're measured on how much extra crap can you sell these exhibitors, how much extra bit of plastic or bit of lectern or more plugs or whatever, even if the people don't need the plugs. And then they're all freaking out next year when the same people don't rebook, but they haven't understood why they haven't rebooked.
Absolutely.
We were on a call recently, weren't we? We were on a panel, and we could see everyone was getting it. And yet I know, because these are all people that I'm part of an association of, that they'll forget that on the day when they're back in the room, it'll all become about, I've got to get leads, I've got to scan. It's almost like we've become institutionalized that way.
Absolutely. And we get a lot of aha moments, in our training when they realize that the process is not rocket science. It's just good common sense business knowledge, if you like. If you know what you want from an exhibition, then you can work backwards in terms of figuring out how to actually get there. What do we want out of this exhibition? How does it align with our business growth plan? You look at your plans for 2025. You set your goals and you say, right, next year I want to grow my business by 20%. How much of that is going to come from my trade shows? Say 10%, that equate to a value of maybe £50,000 worth of new business will be from that trade show. How many leads do I need to get that £50,000 worth of pipeline? So 50,000 might equate 5 customers. So then you'll need 5 leads. So working your way back to get 5 sales, you might need to do 10 proposals. To get 10 proposals, you might need to do 40 presentations. Okay, to do 40 presentations, you might need to have 80 sales leads. Okay, to get 80 sales leads, okay, from those trade shows, to get that 50,000, you need a plan. Okay, you need a customer journey. And what does that journey actually look like? How do I say hello? How do I actually attract them to the booth? Okay, what kind of marketing do I need to do before the event to get people to know that we're actually exhibiting at that show? How are we going to educate them? How are we going to qualify them? What kind of information are we going to collect? And what does the follow-up process look like? So all of that starts from the moment that you actually do your business strategy review for the next year, when you actually look at your business growth plan. And businesses don't really take that focus, because they'll get a phone call from the organizer and say, we've got some fabulous space. We've got a deal for you. If you book, you'll get 20% off the space if you book within like 7 days, and then they'll go ahead and commit to it. And then they'll leave it. And then maybe 6 weeks before the event, all hell breaks loose, and you say, my God, we've got this exhibition in 6 weeks. What the hell do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it makes me think of? You know, like when you're walking in with a load of friends at night or something and it's in the dark and everyone's been cool and then someone screams and then everyone screams and everyone's scared and everybody runs and nobody knows why they did it. And then nobody's very happy. Nobody's had a good time. Everyone's freaking out. And it's like, that's what the trade shows feel like to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because of the disorganization. It's because of the lack of strategy, okay? And it's lack of clear understanding of why people are actually exhibiting, okay? And again, over the past 17 years, when I ask the question, why are you exhibiting? Do you know what the most common answer is?
I dread to think.
It's because, number one, it's because we've always done it. Okay. And number two is, what will the market think if we don't exhibit?
Yeah. And there's a big FOMO thing, which is really great for the people selling space, which is, I'm not going. Why am I not going? Oh, I should be going. I'm really trying to resist that with IMEX Las Vegas at the moment, because I want to go and I want to see all the people, but I can't really justify it from a business point of view. But every part of me is going, I want to go. And you could see if somebody did ring up, not that I'm going to be exhibiting, I'm more a visitor, but someone rang up with some amazing deal, even though I've said it's not a business choice for me this year, I could see myself going, but just, you know, because they've done that. So it's very clever.
Absolutely. And event organizers have actually learned to actually harness this fear of missing out, because that's what drives the crowds. Again, from an attendee point of view, it's the same principle. Why am I actually going to the event? What business purposes are going to serve? And then what are my goals and objectives? And as an attendee, what usually happens is when you get all the marketing collateral, everything seems great, okay? Because you're going to meet your next big opportunity. You're going to meet all the right players. You're going to meet some celebrities even, okay? You're going to hear them speak, okay? But what you tend to forget is that, especially if you go to an international exhibition, you're making a good 3 to 4 day commitment. But what happens when you get there? You're tired, okay? You're exhausted from the jet lag, okay? Especially when you go to events in the US or the Far East. Then there's the overwhelm. When you walk into the exhibition hall, you've got so much stuff happening. The seminars going on, you've got all the sensory overload of the exhibition hall with all these exhibitors. You almost become overwhelmed and you kind of get lost. And there's all of these exhibitors trying to, coax you into their booth. So you need to make a plan before the event. You've got to set yourself objectives and then also look at who are the people that are actually worth talking to on the booth and actually seek them out. And again, one criticism I have of the organizers is that there is no organized matchmaking. They know who the visitors are. They know who the exhibitors are. They should ask what the exhibitors, what they want, and then they should be asking what the attendees want. And I can't believe that there's all these algorithms out and they still haven't figured out how to connect the right exhibitors to the right attendees.
I agree with you. And I also think, why aren't you helping the attendees have a better experience there? They appreciate now the extra sensory bit. There's a little bit more of help there. There's the buddy system. There's the better maps. There's all of that that's slowly improving. But if you actually find out where people come, and all they sort of say is, well, people come for the education and the networking. Yeah. But they don't make the networking any better. And actually, if you're just coming as an attendee and you maybe haven't got budget to buy, but you might be coming for the education, you're almost like a sort of third-class citizen. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about a clients I work with, for example, may be having a conference and there'll be a trade show element to their conference. So it's not like their whole thing, is it? But there's people who've paid money for a stand somewhere at this event, be it 20 stands, 5 stands, 400 stands, whatever. And always part of my job is get them down there, get them into the stands, get them there, make sure that, and then I'm like, well, you're not giving them very long. You're giving them an hour for lunch, and they want to have a lunch and they want to have a break. Then you're also expecting them to go to the trade shows in all their breaks when actually they probably want some fresh air. And I feel like you want this money from the sponsors, and sometimes the sponsors or the people paying for these stands are also going to be part of the content and the education, which is a whole other conversation, because half the time then the content that they're producing is very salesy. It feels like that's all being done really badly, and we end up annoying the attendees trying to get them to go there, and then the people who've bought stands are quite frankly pissed off because not enough people are visiting them. That's all being done wrong.
My particular feeling is that if companies are exhibiting at conferences and they only have 45 minutes first time, I would actually just say, really look at what the audience is there for. Okay, so their primary inclination is to come for the education. Why are you spending thousands of pounds for potentially 2 hours worth of face time? And that face time is then interrupted by lunches, and there's no motivation for those attendees to visit. Really look at that and make sure that you use that effectively. Okay, so have plenty of pre-planning in terms of your marketing messages, and have something on your booth that makes people want to make your booth a destination worth visiting.
And that is not a bowl of Quality Street, which is what some people seem to think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It may be that maybe you want to do like a mini presentation on your booth, okay, like a follow-on from something that you've actually discussed at the symposium. Give additional content on the booth and give people a positive reason to come and talk to you.
The thing is, I know that, clients listening to this and event planners are going, shut up, you two. This is a money spinner. We need these people. What can we do to make it something that everybody's going to win from?
Yeah, education. Okay, let's make the whole industry education-led. So one of the things that we're doing right now is working with organizers and exhibit builders to make exhibition strategy, to make education a vital part of the onboarding process. So if everyone takes time to understand their clients better and ask them why they're exhibiting, what their goals are, then we can do something to actually educate them and take them on that journey with us and say, right, this is the best practice, okay, this is our recommendation, and offer a personalized service where, people feel valued, they feel listened to, and if you're helping them achieve results, guess what? Everyone wins, because if they've had a successful show, they're going to come back because when you've actually had a good show, right? Because immediately you'll see, right, we've had 15 great conversations that are actually going to lead into discovery meetings. I'm doing a session in October called Exhibitor Education. Whose responsibility is it anyway? We've got universities, for example, who are doing event management degrees, but trade show exhibitions isn't even on the agenda in any of the modules.
Which is shocking.
And then we've got absolutely shocking. And then we've got our trade associations where the best education is a page on their website with a couple of videos. And then we've got the exhibition organizers who may have like an exhibitor day where they do the best practice. But what they're doing is showing people the processes about how to order the furniture. So if everyone took time and they upskilled their salespeople, their account managers, and actually supported people with the end in mind in terms of what they actually want to get out of the show, I think the whole industry would improve drastically. I'm talking like 30, 40, 50%, virtually overnight.
You've got so much advice for the exhibitors on how to do a better job, but it's also the people that are enabling the exhibitors or working with the exhibitors need to really understand the exhibitor's journey and look after them to make things better. That was just such an interesting way of looking at it. Thank you, because obviously I don't see it from that point of view. So it's good to see what all the kind of little components are that make it up and where it's going wrong. And I guess as individuals at the moment, we've got to take huge responsibility for how successful a trade show is for us, rather than just sit there and think, well, the organisers haven't done that or the exhibitors haven't done that. It's actually, as an individual, whatever level you're going in at and however much money you're spending to be at that exhibition, you make it happen. It's like life, isn't it? Not blaming everyone else. We make it happen.
Yeah, it's all down to you. I always say take responsibility, okay? Learn and don't make the same mistake twice, because, I go to a lot of networking events, and I've done a seminar this morning about getting market entry into new markets and things like that. Is to really see exhibitions as a strategic marketing channel to get in front of your target audience. And people don't realize that at all. They just see it as another marketing medium. And the other thing that we mustn't forget is that exhibitions are the most expensive form of marketing. If you're going to spend 20,000, 40,000, 50,000, we have clients that spend millions, then, take responsibility for that budget and use it wisely. To add to that, you have to take a long-term perspective with exhibitions. Nobody comes with a checkbook and says, I want to spend £1 million with you there and then. All exhibitions are an opportunity to create the first step of that relationship. Okay, it's an opportunity for you to say hello, introduce yourself, but the hard work starts after you've said goodbye and collected the information or the business card. And a lot of people forget that.
So a huge thanks to Lee Ali for sharing his perspectives on the trade show experience from really the exhibitor's side. And even though he speaks from that viewpoint of the people who are inside the booths, I think his insights really hit at the heart of what I always talk about, which is making events more meaningful and more attendee focused. And it's clear that if exhibitors and event planners don't start rethinking their approach, they're going to keep missing the mark. We're going to keep alienating people, and ultimately the exhibitors are going to lose business and not want to work. We need to stop treating these trade shows as this desperate scramble for leads and focus on real engagement, education, and genuine connections. So I hope that's been valuable to you, and even if it's just a little kind of different view at the way things are for people exhibiting at events. So I look forward to seeing you next time, and in the meantime, keep pushing the boundaries and stop doing the same as last year. And there you have it. I hope you're inspired to revolutionise the attendee experience at your next event. Ready to dive deeper? Download your free guide, 5 ways to elevate your attendee experience without breaking the bank. The link is in the show notes. Subscribe to Not the Same as Last Year podcast, connect with me, Clare Forestier, on LinkedIn, or visit my YouTube channel for even more tips and insights to make your events a hit with your attendees. Don't forget to leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback is going to fuel my mission. Stay tuned next week for another episode packed with inspiring ideas and practical strategies to put your attendee first.